and welcome to my channel Florist Batch. This is the second video about painting a ginkgo leaf in pen and ink and then with a watercolor wash. I transferred my drawing onto watercolor paper. I am not going to show you the whole transfer process because I have already done a video about how to transfer a drawing from cartridge to watercolor paper. I will put a link to that video in the description box below if you don't know how to transfer your drawings to watercolor paper. But on this one I've done it. I will just show you quickly the tracing to show you what parts I trace and what parts I leave out. So you can see I've done the main outline, and then I've done the blemish, and then I've done a few main veins. So I've got the central vein and then the quarter veins and then the eighth vein as well. So this is the transfer of the drawing of the leaf, and this is now ready to be inked. So what am I going to use to ink my drawing? I will show you my kit and what I'm going to use for this particular one. For the ink, I am going to use this Winsor Newton. It's called Peat Brown, and it's a little glass bottle. Now this ink is not completely waterproof, so when you ink your drawing I usually recommend using waterproof inks. So once you've inked your drawing you can put your watercolor washes on top and the ink will not bleed, it will not fade, it will not dissolve with the water. This one is sort of half between the two. It's not completely waterproof, but also it won't dissolve that much. So when you put the water on, it will just take the edge of it, blend it a little bit in a paper, but it will still keep quite a sharp line. Then I've got my pen, which is a mapping pen, so when I press on the paper it splits quite a bit, which means that I can vary the width of my line a lot, from very fine to something quite thicker. And then I also have this Kuretake nib that I really like. It's a manga pen and the nib on that is very fine, and I am going to use this for the veins to make sure that I have very fine veins. So I'm going to use a mixture of two different pens with two different nibs. Now I'm ready to start. I have my drawing in front of me as well, so I can refer to it as I ink my drawing on the watercolor paper. So if I have any doubts of what to do on here, I have a reference in front of me. So I'm going to start with the outline. So I've got my mapping pen. And you can see if I push a little bit harder on it, I can get a thicker line if I want in the groove here. Now I have finished the outline with the mapping pen. I am ready to start the veins with the finer manga pen. In the same way that the pencil was building up some shadow at the top of the stem where my anchoring point was, the ink is going to build up some shadow here as well, which is good. It's going to give some depth at that point where all the veins going beneath those little folds on the edge of the leaf. I turn my drawing as I draw the veins because it's easier to draw a curve from the inside. Now I'm going to accelerate the film on this one because this is going to take quite a while. you can see what I'm doing just as much if it's accelerated. Now you can see that the Kuretake manga pen has got a much finer line. It's quite pleasant to work with as well. Now you really have to make sure that you don't cross your lines in here. They all need to go in here, but they can't go across each other. Now somebody recently asked me where I look when I draw a line like this. I was teaching at Westdean College and I was doing a pen and ink course. And somebody asked me, where do you look when you draw a line like this? Because they had trouble doing a steady line. And the answer to that was, I didn't know. And because I never thought about it. So we did a little experiment. I started working a bit slower and two of them were watching me as I was doing it, and then I was thinking a bit more about where I was looking. And I'll show you with some clean nibs so I don't make stains on this. When I start the stroke, I have my nib here, so I look here, but I also have a glance of where I want to go. So if, say I was doing that line, I would look here and I would look here so that I know where I'm going. And then as I start drawing, my eye is on the nib. And as I progressed, my eye is ahead of the nib so that I look where I'm going. And this distance gets bigger and bigger until then I reach. So if this is the nib in my left hand and my eye in my right hand, this is what happens. I start like this, then I go here, and then they start together, but my eye is moving faster than my nib, and it ends up here, and then I join. There we go, mystery solved. I thought that was a very interesting question because I never thought about it before. Okay, the veins are done. Now we are ready for blemishes. So I'm going to use the mapping pen, and again I am going with my drawing here as a reference so that I know where to put the blemishes on. And I'm just going to darken some areas. Not with solid ink. Most of the time I just do little dots and little lines. Solid ink is a bit strong really. Now here I've got a whole area that is blemished, so I'm adding a lot more brown here. And you can layer your ink a little bit and make it darker. With a couple of layers. Now I'm adding a little bit of cross hatching to the shallow side of the stem. Not very heavy. I'm using my manga nib again. It's a very fine one. And I'm doing this to just give a little bit of volume to the stem. Okay, that's it. There's enough ink on here. So I have my pencil leaf and now I have my ink leaf, and the next stage would be to add a wash of watercolor on the ink. I will wait overnight before I erase my pencil and start the watercolor, just to make sure that the ink has sunk into the paper properly and that I'm not going to smudge anything. So that's the end of the second video. The third one will be the watercolor wash. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!